Anthony, thanks again for your
Of
set. That was
course.
great. Can't wait to for everybody to hear if they haven't heard it already. As we were walking over to the decks, I mean, we were having a conversation about different genres, different styles of music, and different elements that come from all over the world. And obviously, a very popular genre right now is Afro House, right? Afro House has taken on kind of a world of its own, really, lately, right? And you know, I've really been attracted to the sounds of Afro House for several years. But now that it's kind of more popular,
Yeah,
more
commercial.
mainstream, it's almost like and I would say there are elements of it in my own production. But obviously, I'm not African. I am white.
I thought
Um,
you were black.
what gave it away? Shoot, man. But it's tricky sometimes, right? Because if somebody asks, like, "Oh, what do you produce?" It's like Beatport would classify what I have produced it as Afro House, and
Yeah.
it's like, how do I tell that to somebody, especially somebody of color, and not feel like they might be angry at me for taking something that is more of their lineage, of their descent. Like, where how do I navigate those waters?
Just having like this conversation in and of itself is like the most important step, right? Because a lot of people, like we were speaking, they just come in and they use elements, but you can tell it's inorganic. They don't care about the culture. They don't care about learning anything about the culture, the things that, or what they're using. That's not to say that everyone should be an expert in a specific kind of music or things like that, but it kind of goes back to like the conversation we're having like about DJing. And a good DJ is going to be a historian of music, right? That's how he's going to set a room and play for these long extended sets. And if there's a genre that you like we were talking about Mo Black, for example, he's white, but he grew up in Africa. I'm not saying move to Africa, but learn about what it is that if you truly care about the genre and like moving it forward and saying, hey, look, I'm not someone that's trying to colonize something, for lack of a better term, but I'm more of an ally for this. So that's, showing up, having these conversations, and being comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Sure. Yeah.
because as you said, you're a white male. For like my day-to-day experience or a black person's day-to-day experience, when we walk into a room with like white people, or like if I'm at my day job, I'm kind of always uncomfortable because I don't know what their perspective is on me or what they may believe, right? And that's a discomfort that we live with growing up in our entire lives. Not saying that you've never been uncomfortable or anything like that, but I feel that other people don't want to feel that discomfort and instead just say, well, yeah, I like this music and whatever, this is what I'm gonna produce. I don't really care for your opinion. An example that I was using earlier, Bad Bunny released an album and these guys went in, and white guys went and made, white French guys, made an Afro House remix to it, and they don't even know the words to the songs. To the song itself. So it's like you couldn't take those 10 minutes to learn what the words are about. You just saw it was trending on TikTok. You took it, you produce Afro House, and then, now it's this Afro House remix. That is disingenuous. And I think that's what, I don't want to say offense, but makes people like, gives them like the ick, or at least like gives me the ick. Right. If you're someone that just comes up and like, we have these conversations, that's not to say like, if I see a white person DJ in Afro House, I'm like, oh, great. That's not how I see it.
Okay.
I hope that person is like doing their research, doing the work to understand how it's gotten there. But it's also like, it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing, exactly. Specifically with like Keinemusik, a lot of people don't know that like Me and Rampa, they've been producing Afro adjacent stuff for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like the Rapture EP by Me from 10 years ago was one of my favorite EPs ever.
Yeah.
And at that time, it didn't have a genre. Like it wasn't called Afro House.
Right.
It would have fallen maybe like within like the tribal house realm.
Right.
But again, you see the over commercialization of how big they've gotten. And then now that gives some people the ick. But if you learn their history, you know that they've actually been doing this for a long time. So I like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Again, things get popular. I'm happy that people are acknowledging or at least aware of this beautiful music that's coming out of Africa, specifically like South African house and stuff like that. Black Coffee has been in the scene for years. I mean, he's a Grammy nominated artist.
Yeah. I mean, there's just some incredibly talented African artists. Like,
Yeah.
Napa is like a great example. And
Yeah.
just like, I hear his sound and it's just like, it's so powerful. Right. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm attracted to that sound. And, if I want to play it, like, I just want to like deliver that to other people kind of thing. And I'm a conduit for that. Not necessarily like, I don't want to take anything and be like, oh, this Black African man produced this song, and so I'm going to play it to look cool. It's like, I'm just like, I like this. Other people are probably going to like this. And, it's like, how do I do that? Or how does a white non-African person, stay, I guess, sincere to that type of energy rather than, the things that might give somebody, a person of color, or a person of African descent, the ick, like you said, right? It's like, because, they might just be playing the same song, but there's clearly like a vibrant energy involved in it, right? And it's like, it's a weird place for me to be in it. I would say uncomfortable in some ways, right? Because I like it so much. And it's like, I just want to make sure that I'm doing things that show that I'm still respecting the music and the artists, regardless of who they are or where they come from. Yeah. Right. So, what are some things that you might notice if you see somebody who's, playing or performing or creating or producing music that might not be from their culture or their background, but it still feels like it's, it's good and it's done in a respectful way.
Yeah. I mean, I think the number one thing is, and this is like, once you have some sort of power, is putting other artists on or giving them a platform. Like, what you're doing with this, like, it's a YouTube mix, but that's still giving me a platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And thinking about it like that, so that when people look, everyone's not always going to be happy, right? I'm Dominican and Puerto Rican. I'm not white, but I'm not Black. To some Black people, I'm Spanish, but I'm not Spanish because I'm not from Spain. To Latin people, I'm not Black. So it's like, I'm in that weird divide all the time as well, right?
Yeah.
So I can't make everybody happy, and neither can you. People will have their opinions, but sincerity goes a long way, and like, people get that vibe.
Yeah.
If I go to like a set and the guy's playing Beatport Top 10 Afro House, I kind of know like, you're doing this because this is what's hot right now. And it's with any artist in any genre. Like, you can tell when it's not authentic. Like,
yeah, I think that's a good point to like really expand it out to, I don't know when Afro House became a genre on Beatport, but it's someone find that out for us. But yeah, it's weird too, because, while I have songs that Beatport classifies as Afro House on Beatport, yes, there are probably some percussive elements, some syncopation, some instruments that come from, African descent.
Yeah.
But a lot of the rest of the music, I wouldn't necessarily consider like truly African, or, it's melodies, it's synthesizers, there's so many other things going on. But in the realm of electronic music, it fits the best in Afro House. So it's like, I don't know. It's just it seems like it's a weird position, right? Because like, I'm not going to go screaming on social media like, hey, I'm an Afro House DJ and producer, like,
and then dashiki.
I mean, not to say that I haven't worn not t-shirts out in public, but but yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, to me, tell me if this isn't a perspective I should have, but if I enjoy how it sounds, it doesn't really matter where in the world that derived from, but to still be able to respect it and just, appreciate that, there is some meaning to this to probably somebody else, that it doesn't have the same meaning to me, but I still feel some type of emotion that gravitates me towards those elements. Yeah. Right. I just want to make sure that, we are able to have these conversations, and I'm really, again, really grateful that you were able to come here. And I'm, one of the things that I'm definitely trying to do with this channel is give all kinds of house music artists a platform to talk about who they are as an artist and share their craft. And, so I just, I appreciate having these conversations. And, if there's any other questions you have for me around any of this or anything else you'd like to mention, like, please, I'd love to hear it.
Again, I mean, the biggest thing is like sincerity, which you are, I wouldn't be here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Or like, talk about community, and they talk about culture, and they talk about house music, but always house music as a whole, always fail to mention or to remember that house music is Black queer music.
Yeah.
So I don't even fall into that because I'm not queer. So I'm one check mark removed, so to speak. They speak about expanding the genres and, you know, introducing people to new sounds and things like that. But then at the core, they never mention that. Or in their language, you kind of pick up that you're talking about a different kind of house music. You're probably talking about like 2010 David Guetta house, which I love.
Yep.
But, you know, always remember where that music came from. And I think that just goes back to Afro House, as Beatport categorizes it, of where it came from. You know, like, not that kind of music isn't a good start. And I'm just using them as an example because they're like huge, right? But like, you know, Black Coffee was around for a very long time. I remember seeing Black Coffee in Tomorrowland in 2017 or 18. And the year before COVID, he was playing main stage and it was empty. Like, it was empty.
That just wouldn't happen today.
That wouldn't happen today.
Yeah.
And again, it speaks to like the how popular it's gone and things like that, which again, it's great for the genre, but it's also just like knowing where the basic fundamentals of like where that came from and who were the prominent artists that brought that sound over here, or that introduced the world to that sound. That's like the biggest thing with anything. It's like just knowing at minimum the origin. Like, if you want to have a conversation about house music, where did it come from? Who were the people that created it? You know, what did Chicago play in it? What did New York play in it? Detroit with techno. And it's not that everyone needs to be a music historian, but in the position that you're in and saying and like feeling uncomfortable, is like as long as you can have like a basic conversation about like where it started, then I think people are like, okay, at least he's like doing his homework at bare minimum. You know, these conversations are obviously more than your homework because you're engaging the community and you're asking like, hey, how do I go about this the right way? Which is extremely important. A lot of people don't do that at all. I mean, just like at festival lineups, they're always talking about diversity. They're not asking women. They're not asking people of color, etc.
Well, Anthony, I sincerely appreciate you coming by, you know, having these conversations, having more lighthearted conversations about your music and hearing your music as well. But again, thank you very much.
Of course, my pleasure.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that Q&A with our latest guest. It would help a lot if you hit subscribe so I can grow this channel and bring more artists onto the show. You'll get to learn more about who they are and hear their craft. So hit that subscribe button now, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy the set.